Sorry, I'm a little late, a lot late, but life has been interesting. So I want to talk today about yerba mate tea and some of the benefits and why it's working so well for metabolic health issues, mental health issues, anti-cancer issues, uh, ec- uh, better bone and muscle health. So many benefits from one simple drink that, all these added benefits are one of the reasons why I favor it over GLP-1 drugs. So the GLP-1 drugs are helping with a number of things. There's no doubt about that. But are they safe? And what other benefits are they giving you? Well, are they safe? We don't know that yet. There's been a rush to present them for weight loss and diabetes, and yet we don't know long term the effects on the body. The short term, yeah, that's been shown that you can lose some weight with those drugs, but we've also already started to see people with pancreas failure. We've seen people with gastric emptying so slow that they actually end up with food stuck in their intestinal tract. We see people who've had thyroid problems. We see people who've had heart issues. We see a number of other issues going on with those GLP-1 drugs. The other thing that happens with the GLP-1 drugs, and can everybody hear me over on TikTok? I just forgot I have this headset on and I'm not sure if you're hearing me well. Part of my new morning ritual, I have this little headset, bone conducting headset that measures my energies. We'll talk about that part later. Right now, I want to dive into yerba mate tea, the one drink that can actually help with a lot of metabolic dysfunction. And we're going to go over some of the reasons. There's no way in 1 hour I could go over everything that Unimate tea does for you. But let's start to dive in. And I say Unimate instead of yerba mate because Unimate is a specific form of yerba mate tea that has been designed to have toxins and pesticides removed and be about 375 times more potent than any standard bagged yerba mate tea, making it super efficient and really necessary for our bodies today. So one of the problems we have with metabolism is that we're storing too much fat. Okay. What I would love for everyone to understand before I dive in, good morning. And where's everybody from? Welcome in. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining me. I really love seeing all you guys in here. Good morning, Ro. Good morning, Crafty. Love you guys so much. So I do want to dive into Unimate tea. I want to dive into a lot of things around insulin resistance, and I shouldn't be taking this off. Red light therapy on my wrist. All right. So it's just bugging me. It's kind of clunky and chunky, this red light thing. All right. So when we start to gain weight from insulin resistance, it's creating more fat cells. When we create more fat cells, they actually, the response from the fat cells actually starts to change. The gene expression from the fat cells starts to change, and it becomes a little bit more toxic and oxidative, and it just starts to cause more disease and illness and increases your ability to gain more fat. One of the crazy things with Unimate is it changes the way those fat cells are expressing themselves. So now instead of encouraging more fat growth, with that healthier change in the fat cells signals, if you will, it starts to allow you to hold on to healthier levels of fat and get rid of the excess fat. So there's this expression within the fat cell that changes when it's inundated with yerba mate, or more likely Unimate tea. So now we're changing that fat cell to be a healthier fat cell. So it's not holding on to excess and inflammation like it was as a result of insulin resistance. Now, you've heard me talking, if you've been on my channel, and if you haven't, welcome in. Hang on, we're going to learn a lot today. But I talk about insulin resistance all the time. That's my one thing. You guys don't come at me with stuff about other health issues. Not that I don't care. I'm just not versed on them. I'm not equipped to deal with them. If you are asking me, could this be linked to insulin resistance? Absolutely. I can go do research and give you answers on that. But as to treatments and different things with other disorders, I'm not equipped. So let's understand that I am a real woman. I did work in medical for years, but I'm just a real woman. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not some sports coach, whatever. So I just am somebody who suffered with all of this stuff up here, much like many of you, was not getting answers from any of those aforementioned professions, and I was getting sicker. Um, and I felt like my life was going to be over before I was 70, and that was devastating. Now, something I've never talked about before, and I will say this now, a little quirk, Amisha quirk. Just understand that in my family, and my father's side of the family, it tended to be that if they didn't pass away by the age of 50, they lived to be close to 100. Now, I've passed the 50 mark, but at that point in time when I found the system and the tea and all of this information about insulin resistance, I was just barely past 50. And I was trending towards that person who was going to expire early and not be living to the ripe old age of about 100, which is a goal for me. I want to live to be over 100 because I have a lot of things I want to do. And at 60, that means I have good 40 years left to do a lot of work. So I want to be as healthy and strong as I can be. Unimate tea is helping me with that. And here's how. So not only has it helped me strip some weight off my body and start training my fat cells to be more healthy, but it gives me better cognitive function. It also gives me more energy. We're going to dive into all of those things. Where I was starting, now I remember. I was talking about insulin resistance, right? So recently I've been talking more about glucagon as well. So when we have insulin resistance, most of us are beginning to understand that that's an excess of a hormone called, or it's actually a peptide hormone, much like the GLP-1 peptides, right? So it's a peptide hormone that's produced in the pancreas that delivers sugar to our cells of our body when sugar is present in the bloodstream. When sugar is not present in the bloodstream, the insulin levels go down. Insulin resistance means we've elicited the need for insulin too often, and so it gets kind of stuck, if you will. That switch gets stuck on, and now we're producing insulin all the time at high rates because our body's expecting us to eat constantly and to eat hyper processed foods that are devoid of nutrients and fibers, and so it's delivering sugar to our system more quickly. So our body says, as a defense to what we're putting in our face, our body says we need to have insulin present all the time because this person is going to eat in 10 minutes. They're going to pop a handful of nuts in their face. They're going to grab a handful of chips. They're going to eat a couple of Oreo cookies. They're going to grab an apple. They're going to grab whatever. But that constant eating is creating a high level of insulin. Now comes glucagon. Insulin likes to save energy. It likes to use sugar for energy. It's a sugar burner, but it's also an energy saver. Glucagon is a fat burner, but it's also an energy expender. But the interesting thing with glucagon, so glucagon can't come out to play until insulin goes down, which means when insulin is high, we're not able to burn fat for fuel. When glucagon is in, if we're metabolically healthy, we should be able to burn fat for fuel. But the interesting part about glucagon is that it is trying to raise the blood sugar in your bloodstream. Now, this makes sense, right? So when we're trying to survive and thrive, if we don't have food, if we look back at our ancestors, how did they survive all of those times when they didn't have food for days? Well, because insulin is down now, so there's no sugar in their system, but they still need energy. So now out comes glucagon and it's scavenging, trying to pull energy out from the cells wherever it can, and it's in effect raising your blood sugars. In a metabolically healthy and a metabolically flexible person, that number is normal and healthy and great for us to continue to thrive on. But in a metabolically unhealthy person and someone with insulin resistance, what they're finding is that There's some glucagon excess now as well. So it's not just high levels of insulin. Now, when you're more metabolically inflexible, you end up with higher levels of glucagon. And when you have higher levels of glucagon, what you have is higher levels of blood sugar, even in a fasted state. Crazy, right? So the GLP-1 drugs, we're going to talk about those a little bit, not in depth today, not in depth, but we're going to talk about them a little bit. One of the things they're doing is helping reduce that action of glucagon. So the glucagon like peptide 1 agonist, it's slowing down that action of glucagon, slowing down how much glucagon can release sugar into your bloodstream. That's one of the reasons why they started using them as diabetic drugs. Does it make sense to everybody? Is if this sort of makes sense, put a 1 in. If you need me to cover that a little bit deeper, put a 2 in and we'll talk about that a little bit deeper. Let me scroll down now and see what's going on. So if that makes sense, so insulin resistance, you guys, what I really want you to understand right now is that when you have insulin resistance, long term, what happens is now you end up with an overload of glucagon or overactive glucagon as well. Because why? When your body is so used to thriving on sugar and it doesn't know how to burn fat for fuel, when you are in a fasted state, your body is struggling to get those normal levels of sugar for it. So glucagon is overreacting, going, oh, hey, there's these gaps because there's not all this sugar in the system like we're used to. So let's get sugar and dump it into the system. And so now your blood sugars are up even when you're fasted. Problem, right? The big thing is what I want you to understand to get both insulin and glucagon under control, you need to get insulin under control first and allow your metabolism to start functioning. So that could be a little bit longer road for some people. It may be a quicker road for some people. That's why this is all very, very personal and why you actually need a coach or someone to help you through it. So glucagon and glucagon like peptide. So Unimate actually elicits that GLP-1 action by up to 70% naturally in your body. And why is it different if we elicit it naturally as opposed to taking an injection? So you have to take the glucagon-like peptide, Wegovy, Ozempic, tirzepatide, in an injection because it doesn't last very long. Once it's constituted, it's very, very fragile. So you have to constitute it and inject it into your fat cells. Can't pass through the liver because that will start to kill that action off. You have to inject it. But what's happening is, even though you're injecting this glucagon-like peptide, you're injecting it in levels that are far exceeding what your body would normally handle. And there's always a danger when we're ingesting, injecting, and doing anything in excess of what the body is meant to handle. GLP-1 drugs, in my opinion, are doing just that. But the tea that I talk about all the time, which I'm going to have this morning, here in a second, actually elicits that GLP-1 action in a more natural and healthy state, and it can do it by 70%. Is the tea going to give you the same rate of fat loss as the GLP-1 drugs? Probably not. Is it still going to work for weight loss, but in a much healthier way? Yeah, heck yeah. So we combine it with a fiber that I talked about yesterday and some intermittent fasting, and that's really the gold. One of the problems, and I don't know why I'm stuck on GLP-1s because I hate them so much, you guys, let's just be real. I freaking hate those drugs. They do so much damage to people that no one wants to talk about. And why aren't they talking about it? Well, because Big Pharma was going to lose a lot of money if we do. So I just don't like GLP-1 drugs, but I like the mechanisms of action of GLP-1. So GLP-1 can affect your brain pathway and your gut pathway. Now, remember, in my tea, this is present and 375 times more potent than most bagged or any bagged yerba mate tea on the market. That GLP-1 action is going to the brain and it's getting energy to the brain. It's telling the brain, hey, you have energy, you are not hungry. A lot of times we get migraine headaches, we get excess. If you've never noticed, you're hungrier when you're fatigued. Um, and that is a mechanism of action. The brain is calling out for energy in the body. So if the brain is getting energy, it's not going to cue hunger as much. So now this tea is shutting down some of that pathway. Part of it is just through the chlorogenic acid that's able to cross the blood-brain barrier and get to the brain and get nutrients into the brain. So it starts to be that you have a better mood, you start to have more energy, you start to have more mental clarity. You also have a reduction in hunger because now the brain has the stuff that it needs. That's one of the actions, and I don't think that a lot of people understand this intense hunger we have is oftentimes elicited by our brain and not our body. Remember, I talk about this a lot. The top 3 organs that use insulin the most are gonna be your kidneys, your heart, and your brain. So if those are deficient in energy because they're insulin resistant, and I haven't even addressed that yet, you're going to start to suffer. And what happens is when you start not getting energy, the body's like, hey, we need energy. Energy means food. Let's go get some food. You're hungry. Now you go out and eat. But the problem is you're picking up things like candy bars and chips or, even nuts and stuff, but they're all eliciting an insulin spike. And now we're stuck in a negative feedback loop. Insulin, when it's delivering energy to the cells, if it's too much, the cells start to shut down. So there are some of the cells, not all of them. Or we wouldn't survive insulin resistance if all of them shut down, right? Some of them are going to toe the line and be normal, just be normal. Some of them are going to be overactive and take up too much insulin, and that causes a problem I've talked about. Some of them are just not going to take up the insulin because they're basically annoyed or inflamed or the lock isn't working. And now insulin, even though there's energy present in your bloodstream, insulin can't deliver it. So you're constantly hungry and constantly eating and constantly spiking your blood sugar, thereby spiking your insulin. And now you're starting to have all of this stuff go on and you just don't feel well. Unimate tea, yerba mate tea, helps shut some of that down, helps quiet some of that noise. So now you're not having those intense hunger actions. You're having better mood. You're having less headaches. You're having more energy, and life just seems good. That seems like a really great recipe to weight loss for me, and it has been. And I would like you guys to really think about that. Do you want to just inject something for that quick weight loss? We're going to talk about some of the other dangers, muscle, bone, all of that with those high levels of GLP-1. But the second place that GLP-1 is really directing action is in your gut. And there is a gut-brain axis, called your vagus nerve, that communicates between the gut and the brain. And so when this Unimate is able to, through GLP-1, address both of those pathways in the brain and in the gut and start to calm down your hunger and increase energy, now we have something we can work with. Now, I want to continue on about the tea because that's really what I want to talk about today and why I'm so in love with this tea, why I drink it twice a day, every day, why so many other people are falling in love with it too. So the tea, as we're going to go through this, because I need to drink my tea, you guys. I have something stuck to my package. This is the tea. In the morning, I like it hot, so we have lemon ginger. I like my tea hot, lemon ginger in the morning. In the afternoon, I don't have my cold one. I do it at the lemon flavor cold in the afternoon. Now, hot, and this is how easy it is, you guys. I'm not steeping tea every day. I'm not looking for boiled water or hot water everywhere I go. I'm not having to sit with a tea bag in for 10 minutes or whatever. I just tear the top off of this packet. This is real tea, and I just put it in here. Oh, and this is the second time I've dumped the whole packet in. And then it's as simple as stir it up. Now, if you put it in a bottle like this and you're traveling, you can just shake it up. But I'm just going to stir this up a little bit. And now I can have my tea. Super simple, right? If you're traveling and, if you're on a long road trip, do you want to sit with a cup of tea and a bag for 10 minutes before you can drink it? No. You probably want to run in, grab some hot water, stir it up, and drink and get back on the road. If you're in an airport, are you going to find a place to have hot water and steep your tea? Probably not. this works. It's super sustainable. So now we were talking about GLP-1. My God, I love this tea. It's real. It's real. I love the tea. I'm not just saying that because I'm here. If I look at my personality with autism, if I hated something, there is no way in heck I could be here talking about it. It would not, it would just wouldn't click. I couldn't do it. It's impossible for me to just be on and be happy and talk about something I don't like. So, no, when I'm here, it's because I really do believe in it and I like it. Now, some of the actions, and I do want to show you guys in my profile here on TikTok, there is a tab called the T. Let's take a look at that because I want you to know where to find some of this information later. And if you're over on YouTube and Facebook, those videos are present. They're just going to be harder for you to find. All right, so let's take a look at my profile. By the way, this is where you're going to find the tea, where you're going to find my website, you're going to find all of that stuff. So, all right, can I just be functional? So when we look at my profile, you'll see a couple of things. You're going to see my profile on TikTok. You're going to see this link right below the red light symbols. That's what's going to get you to my web page and how to get a hold of me and all of that stuff. So you just click on that link and it's going to open up my landing page and you should see something like this. My face, up close and personal, how to contact me, my website, and how I'm making money, and you can too, which is great. We'll talk about that later. But if you look at the top of my profile, there are these playlists, right? So if you just scroll over to the one called the T, see that? The T. There's a bunch of videos in here, and I'm adding more to it on the T. Now, Dr. Huberman, and if you guys know Dr. Huberman, really well-known neuroscientist, he talks about yerba mate, not Unimate. He talks about yerba mate. And he breaks down some of these GLP-1 actions in this video that I condensed for you guys. And what I want you to know is, again, he's talking about a standard form of yerba mate tea. And then if you think about everything he says in those videos and the benefits of action that they have, and then you multiply that by about 375 times, now you have something you can really work with for your metabolism. But then there's, things on like the 13 benefits. And then I've been doing videos here and there on each one of those benefits and how that's acting. So you want to know more about the tea in a condensed version. You want to go back and listen, and you want to hear somebody besides Misha say, this is what's going on. You need to go there and look. Now there should be a video with Dr. Bickman in there, and I will have to find it and get it in there. But just know that all this information that I'm bringing you guys is based on science. It's not just, oh, Misha's trying to sell something or say something. We're talking about the scientific basis of all of these actions with yerba mate tea. Now, I know I'm going to forget some stuff because it's crazy the amount of things this can do. So let's get off of the GLP-1s. Let's talk about a few other things we already talked about how it changes the expression of your fat cells. So they're healthier and they want to hang on to less fat and they want to store less of the stuff that's making you inflamed and whatnot. The Unimate tea actually helps with normalizing your fat cell function. That's important. But it also has been proven to help you maintain muscle while losing weight. It also has been proven to help with bone density and bone strength through a number of mechanisms, which I will try to do videos on. Let me jot those down because I know they're not in my regular playlist. Muscle and bone. Unimate tea, or yerba mate tea, but Unimate because it's more concentrated. Unimate tea has been clinically shown to increase performance during exercise by 10 to 15%. Now, so we have football players, we have basketball players, and big name basketball players who are using this. We have baseball players, we have soccer players, we have a number of athletes and a power lifter like I used to be who uses Unimate tea for energy. Now, With this tea, you're getting energy because, again, you're getting nutrients to the brain. It's not just about pumping up the caffeine in your system and like driving this energy that's running off of cortisol. You're actually getting energy into the brain. And so now you have more energy, but you're also allowing the muscle tissues. One of the crazy things is the muscle tissues become more sensitive to utilizing insulin when you have this component of Unimate available in your system. So, more mental clarity and energy, more physical clarity and energy. The muscles are able to use up the fuel that's in there much better than a person who's in an insulin fed state. And now we're starting to have some health throughout the body. So, I said the kidneys, the heart, and the brain by volume use up the most insulin, but the biggest user really by size, uh, kidneys, heart, and brain by size use up more percentage of the insulin. However, by just sheer volume, the one thing that uses up the most insulin is your muscle tissue. And in an insulin resistant state, that muscle tissue just can't get it in, which is making your insulin worse. And you're starting to have muscle failure. You're starting to have muscle weakness. You're starting to have excess fat. You kind of just look flaccid, like you don't have muscle definition. By the way, I'm going to go back to it. Those GLP-1 drugs, yeah, a lot of that action is happening with those GLP-1 drugs where you're actually losing muscle to lose the weight. And then you end up with Ozempic face, Ozempic butt. We've all heard about it. I'm not going to go into it, but know that that happens. You're not getting Ozempic face or Ozempic butt with Unimate tea because you're adding in nutrients and a number of other factors that we're going to talk about. One of the big reasons I cannot get off of the GLP-1s today. One of the big reasons I love this tea over GLP-1s is for those mechanisms of action. So it's not that you're just getting in this weight loss and this satiety from Unimate. You're getting in so many other actions of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, anti-cancer properties, all through, and some adaptogens that are just helping your body adapt to the loads that we have in this life today. Those adaptogens, some of them are chlorogenic acids, mate saponins, theobromine. And so we'll go over some of those too. But can you already see this tea in one simple little packet of tea is not just, it's not just a fat burning tea. It's not just a tea that helps you with that. It's a tea that's helping you with your overall health by feeding your body a ton of nutrients. Not only that, it's high in vitamins and minerals, which are obviously necessary for us to live with, right? And we're just not getting the absorption of those. Now, that it triggers a lot of stuff for me to talk about. You guys, I could talk for hours about some of this stuff, but with insulin resistance and our food moving through our system so quickly and us absorbing too much sugar, one of the other things is that the food is actually running through you. A lot of people end up with IBS and gastrointestinal issues, which means we have a malabsorption of nutrients problem. When we have this gastrointestinal urgency constantly, it means our food is just moving through too quickly. And now we're not getting those micronutrients that we need. So we end up with deficiencies in several vitamins and minerals, and we just start feeling really crappy. GLP-1s don't help you with that. They simply are helping with the satiety. They make you feel a little nauseated, GLP-1 drugs, but they don't come with a vitamin and mineral profile. They don't come with antioxidants. They don't come with anti-cancer properties. They don't come with any of that. They're just simply acting on the GLP-1. Me, I want all the vitamins and minerals. I want the GLP-1 actions in a more normal state. And I want it elicited by 70% naturally with this tea. And my favorite doctor, Dr. Ben Bickman, talks about this. He's like, GLP-1 in the drugs, he's not a proponent of the drugs either. But he likes the actions of GLP-1. He just says, get them through real foods. Now, the tea is one. I'm a little off track, but remember yesterday I was talking about fiber and protein, and fiber can actually help elicit GLP-1 as well. It's why this system is working so great, because we have two methods that we're acting on that GLP-1 pathway in the body, so that your satiety is down, or your satiety is up, your hunger is down, and you're able to start to lose weight and getting glucagon under control and getting insulin under control. And isn't that amazing that just a tea in the morning and a tea in the afternoon can do that for you? There was something that I really wanted to talk about, and I know it will come back to me soon, because the tea was, it was an 80% rule thing, and I'll remember it later. There's just so much information. So I'm going to find my notes, because there's just no way for this little lady's brain to remember everything all at once, especially when I'm on live. Okay, so the tea. Does anybody have questions about the tea so far and why it's working so well for so many people? So it helps, like I said, it helps boost your metabolism, and aids in weight management through those things, those pathways that we talked about. So um, it has caffeine in it, a small amount of caffeine, less than a cup of coffee. It has polyphenols and saponins, which help to reduce appetite, but they also help enhance fat burning. That's what it was. That's what it was. You know, I've always said, and I never had a number to put to it. I've read some of the articles, but I just don't remember all the numbers all the time. But when you're drinking Unimate tea, it's helping you produce ketones. Ketones are the little messengers that tell us, hey, it's time to burn fat for fuel and stop burning sugar for fuel. That ketone production can be increased by up to 80% when drinking the Unimate tea within about 2 hours of drinking the tea. So you want better ketones that are more naturally produced in your body, and not some exogenous ketones that you're injecting there's a whole other topic on that. But if you want, though, the ability for your body to produce natural and healthy levels of ketones, but increase it by about 80% from where you're at now, the tea helps with even that 80% increase of ketones by drinking this form of yerba mate tea. That's insane, you guys. So think of all the companies out there who are selling you ketones, and that's great. The ketones are doing a great job. But what if you could simply drink a tea, get all the other benefits I talked about, and increase your ketones? That's what I do every day. So the tea also helps with cardiovascular health. A number of people have contacted me and said, yeah, but Misha, I have heart problems. I have a heart murmur. I have high blood pressure. I have low blood pressure. Obviously, I want you to talk to your cardiovascular professional when you're dealing with those things. But what I want you to understand is that science has shown that this tea has been proven to improve cardiovascular health. So that doesn't just mean reducing your blood sugar or your high blood pressure like it did for me. It could mean balancing things out so that your blood pressure and your heart are just running more normally. Again, work with your cardiologist. I'm not telling you to do anything that would be damaging to you. We have a cardiologist who recommends it to every single patient who walks through his door. Depending on the patient, he may have them start with a half a packet of tea a day, or uh, a tea a day, and then they work up to this other level that I drink 2 tea a day, and it's actually building heart health. Now, I set my watch down somewhere, and I've got to go find it because I was wearing it last night. Um, but my blood pressure normally in the morning is around 120 over 70 every single day. And I'm not on any medications. And that happened after my blood pressure was normally about 180 over 150. Now, yes, it's done some damage to some of the veins in my heart, and just how my veins function. So now I'm really hypersensitive of trying to get all of that healthy before I have something devastating happen, right? So people always ask me, well, if your blood pressure was so high, how are you still upright? Well, God bless me. God bless me. I don't know. But there's definitely been some damage to my heart for the long, long years of high blood pressure. So you have a high blood pressure problem. You want to get it down. Try the tea, try the system, get your insulin under control. That's going to help. But It reduces the risk of atherosclerosis. It helps get that blood pressure normalized. It can help lower cholesterol, and it protects against oxidative stress. So when your fat cells are malfunctioning, you're actually causing more oxidative stress in your body. When we reverse that negative action in the fat cells and start to get them to act right, that oxidative stress goes down. So it's not just about the fat loss, it's about getting that oxidative stress and the resulting disorders and fatigue and inflammation and all of that that come along with oxidative stress. That all happens in the fat cell. And yerba mate, Unimate tea can help with that. So when we talk about it, it's also one thing I want to point this out too. Statins. I'm not a proponent of statins either. Long term, they've actually been shown to worsen things. But if you want to understand, the yerba mate tea can enhance the positive effects of statins even. So it also has, remember I keep talking about the brain, this neuroprotective and cognitive benefits. You get this stimulation in the brain, and I hope I haven't missed any questions. You guys, please ask questions, jump in, ask me, and if it isn't about the tea and it's about something up there, that's fine too. Just ask the questions you have so I can make sure you get them addressed while we're on today. And today is really heavily about this Unimate tea because it's the keystone of our, well, not really. I think both products are really valuable in insulin resistance care, but this tea is doing amazing things, and not just in the body but in the brain. And obviously if insulin resistance is affecting all of it, it's going to affect all of those things too. So it shows that it may improve mental focus. Now, in a short study they did of a selected group of participants, they gave them one Unimate tea a day, and they did a variety of measures. But in the 30-day period, by adding one Unimate a day, the wellness score, the how happy people felt and how hopeful they felt in life and all of that, the wellness score of those people increased by 70%. Now, if you're not familiar with science, that's a huge jump. Anytime you see 70% or 80%, those are huge markers in change in the body. And that needs to be paid attention to. It's not a 10 or 20% change. It's a 70% change in wellness scores. So now you're feeling better, you're happier, your family's probably going to be really like happy that you're not so crabby. That was me. I'm talking about myself. My family has noticed that I'm much less anxious, depressed, and unhappy than I was before. And I think that has to do with the tea. It just helps keep me on point. So it helps protect against neurodegenerative conditions like Parkinson's. We've talked about that before, and Alzheimer's. Somebody did mention, and I didn't mean to skip over it, you're type 1.5 insulin diabetic, and you're not on insulin yet. So, what I would love to invite you to think about, okay, because I can't tell you what to do and I can't prescribe for you, is understand that your pancreas is overloaded and starting to shut down. Okay. So, if you can start to normalize the load of the pancreas where it's not having to produce insulin all the time, so your pancreas is just like, I'm tired. I can't produce enough insulin to keep up with this load. And now you're starting to have this early stage of where your pancreas will eventually just stop. So if you want to stop all of that, maybe injecting insulin may not be the best course of action. Again, check with your healthcare provider, but maybe getting the insulin need under control is the better way to address that type 1.5 diabetes and allow some stress relief for your pancreas, and getting in these extra nutrients and taking care of some of the oxidative stress can actually start to help the pancreas heal and start to function more normally. Now, I don't have any scientific study that says that type 1 diabetics return to normal after using the system. I'm not going to make that claim. wouldn't it be interesting to give it a try for 90 days to see what can happen? Because in 90 days, you could see a huge change. And if in 90 days you don't and you're not happy, you get your money back anyway. Um, all right. So let's get back to it. So the theobromine and the chlorogenic acids in this are some of the bigger adaptogens that are helping with mental health. And that's positive. So when you're drinking this mental health, weight loss, metabolism tea, it's doing so much for you. So it also has, and I always talk about this, I don't know why I picked it, neuroprotective gene expression in the brain. So it just means that your neural pathways, your nerve pathways are starting to act more normally and stopping the breakdown of those, which is causing things like um, headaches and cognitive dysfunction. But throughout the rest of the body, it could be causing things like neuropathy. So this tea helps with that neuroprotective gene expression so that those pathways are functioning more normally. Now, it also has been shown to improve digestion. So it's helping with the gut metabolism in that it's helping balance out the gut microbiome. Instead of feeding more sugar into the gut microbiome, you're allowing that sugar to slow down in the gut, and now you're getting more normal expression in the gut from this tea. And that is helping you because remember, that most of your immune function happens in your gut. So your immune cells aren't built there, but 70% of them are held in your gut. And if your gut's unhealthy, your immune response is going down. And that immune response is going down in response to just normal everyday viruses. But it's causing a number of other issues too. Like most autoimmune doctors are going to tell you that autoimmune diseases start with inflammation, and most of that starts in the gut. So interesting thing, if we just take correlational links and mix it up and say, if we are improving the gut health and reducing the inflammation and reducing oxidative stress and reducing the dysbiosis in the gut, now we can hopefully impact those autoimmune diseases. Now, this is probably why we see so many people with Hashimoto's who are starting to feel better by doing the system and having less symptoms. Many of them would even say that their Hashimoto's is no longer um, a, a problem for them. And Annette Hewitt. So the tea is you can now get this for the next few weeks. You can get this in a couple of different ways. Annette. The system is moving now to where we're doing 2 tea and 1 fiber a day. The fiber I talked about yesterday and all the amazing benefits, but remember the fiber is also helping elicit GLP-1 action. It's helping with ketones and short chain fatty acids, which are helping you learn to burn fat for fuel. So it's a tea in the morning. It's a tea in the afternoon when your energy starts to slump again or when you're having breakthrough cravings. And it's a fiber before your first biggest meal, the one with the most carbohydrates in it a day, and that's it. It's about $5 a day. Now, if you're not interested in doing the fiber, which I can't imagine why you wouldn't, it's not my topic this morning, it was yesterday, so you can watch the YouTube yesterday. But if you just want to get a 2-pack of the tea, then it's about $149 for the 2 packs of tea. Um, and you can choose which flavors you want. So right now we have lemon ginger, we have apple spice, and we have black. Now I have a customer that I was talking with, and she loves the black. That's all she orders. Every once in a while she'll mix it up and throw an extra box of one of the other flavors in. But her and her husband have been using our Unimate black in the morning instead of coffee. So many less toxins and so much less damage from excessive caffeine without the adaptogens. They feel much better. And they recognize that unless they're drinking a super clean, expensive coffee, they're just doing better. And again, they're not having to run it through a coffee machine or any of that. So the tea is about $5 a day, any way you look at it, a little more, a little less, depending on which way you go. But the system really is what I would do. And that's 2 tea, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and a fiber before your biggest meal. Why we went to 2 tea and 1 fiber is because most people are doing OMAD now, and they're just not using as much fiber, but they wanted the extra T. So I hope that answers that. And you just get it here. I'll drop the link in over here for you guys. And then the other things I want you to understand with this is you do get a 90-day money back guarantee. You do get coaching. You do get a quality guarantee, and you get a low price guarantee. Please do not just go look it up on Amazon or eBay or Walmart. None of those people are authorized distributors. We don't know what they're giving to you. We don't know if it's expired or pirated or any of that. You're not getting coaching, and you're not getting any of the return guarantees. You're not getting the low price guarantee. Most people that I've talked to, I've said, hey, I've been doing the system. You haven't called me. And then we find out they bought it on Amazon. Well, how the hell would I know that you bought it when you bought it on Amazon? You didn't even get it through the company. How am I supposed to know to coach you? Okay. And we found out they spent about $100 more for the whole system than they needed to because they went through Amazon. Amazon as a company, I don't feel is bad. I think that sometimes we're getting products that are not really great because yeah, you all know. Okay, enough of that. I want to get back to the tea and finish this up today. So we know it's helping with mental health. We know it's helping with cardiovascular health. We know it's helping with gene expression in the brain. We know it's helping with metabolism and ketones and fat burning. We know it's helping with physical performance. We know it's helping with retention of muscle tissue. We know that you're increasing your ability to have strong bones when you're doing this because the bones are getting energy, and there's this constant tear down and buildup of bones that's going on. Your bones are like this constant crew where one crew on one side is stripping the paint off of the building and the other crew is coming along and repainting it. It's similar action in your bones. There's a crew called osteoclasts that are tearing down the bone, and then a crew called osteoblasts that are building it back up. And we need a balance of those. We need that continually going on. That's the growth and strength of our bones. In the presence of insulin resistance, that is dysfunctioning, and there's more tear down of the bones than there is build up of the bones. And now you're starting to have brittle bones and osteoporosis. So when we add in things like the tea and start to normalize insulin resistance and allow energy to get to the bones, we end up with stronger bones. Crazy, crazy benefit, right? All the little things that nobody thinks about. I want to ask you, because I hate GLP-1s. If you don't know, I hate GLP-1s. Do the GLP-1s give you any of these actions? Do they help with your heart health? Do they help with retaining muscle? Do they help with helping you have stronger bones, more energy, more mental clarity, better mood? No, they don't. They simply help you lose fat by freezing your gut and making you feel nauseous. Bottom line. So there is a better way. There is a much better way. So I talked about it helped with digestion and bones. So it does have this high antioxidant activity in it, which is part of the anti-cancer property. So that antioxidant is helping you become more resilient and resistant to ever developing cancers in the first place. Now, interesting thing, and that people will come at me for this, but tough luck. Insulin resistance and excess sugar in your bloodstream has been proven over and over and over again to be a contributor to cancer. So when we reduce the amount of sugar in the bloodstream, we're reducing the risk of those cancers. Now, people will come at me and say, hey, there was a study that says that sugar doesn't cause cancer, blah, blah, blah. One study, the meta-analysis does not point to that. That study, when you look at it, was funded by the sugar industry. I'm sure I have a person on my team who used to work as a clearinghouse agent for some of these studies. And what she told me was they'll pay for studies and like 20 of them come in. And if 18 of those studies say something opposite of what this company wants to tell you about their product, they're going to shelve those. And they're going to only put out the one study in this case, that says what they want it to say. So the sugar industry is taking a huge hit right now because everybody's like, oh, sugar, especially processed sugar, is causing this thing called insulin resistance and causing us to be sick. So, of course, the sugar industry's got to come out with something that says, wait a minute, sugar's not that bad for you. So, be aware of some of those studies too. What you want is to have studies that say similar things across the board. The interesting thing with Unimate is that we have a ton of studies on yerba mate. We have some in house studies on Unimate. But when we combine all of these studies that say similar things, and Unimate is just because of its concentration amplifying those effects, now we have something we can trust. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? All right. So before I wrap up, besides all of that, you're getting vitamins and minerals, vitamins like A, B, C, D, E, K. You're also getting a number of minerals like magnesium, potassium, iron, and zinc from the tea. But you're getting it in a way that your body can absorb and utilize it. Remember, part of the problem we're having today is that our foods are moving through us too quickly, and we have a malabsorption of nutrients. This is helping with that. So now some of those micronutrients, you're getting that in as well. Um, so and then triterpenoid saponins, one of the adaptogens in this, one of the things that you find in like the reishi coffee, actually is one of the components that's having an effect on your fat cells and in effect telling your fat cells to act right. And so you're having less fat retention, less oxidative stress. Again, I'm going to keep going back to this. And you're having fat cells that are holding on to normal, healthy amounts of fat. We all need some fat. Understand, we all need some fat. That's our backup powerhouse. We don't need as much fat as we're carrying. We all need some fat because that's what gives us energy when we don't have food. And that's how our bodies are supposed to run. It's like having a hybrid car that is only running on the electric part. And when the electric part runs out, it stops running because there's no gas in the tank. We need both sources of energy, and we need to be able to utilize both sources. That's metabolic flexibility. The T's helping you be able to utilize your fat sources when you're in a fasted state, to normalize your hunger when you're in a fed state so you're not overeating and putting too much of the wrong foods in. My taste buds have totally changed over the last year, 3 years, as I've been on the system, and I've noticed that the sugary sweet things that I used to think I craved are no longer so delectable and worthwhile. In fact, when I do break down and have them, I feel like they just taste bitter and chemically, and they don't have the same appeal. Now, there's a mental health appeal, right? Childhood memories, adult memories, we all just crave some foods because of that. That's not going to change. But the body's need for some things will change when you start doing intermittent fasting, the tea, and the fiber. Um, does anybody have questions so far? And I hope you guys have gotten your questions answered that have had them. So tomorrow I do want to talk about protein. There's an interesting study that came out, and I'm going to kind of break the news today. We're going to dive into it tomorrow. I'm not a huge advocate of super low carb diets, but I am an advocate of keeping your carbohydrates under control. So when we're not overfed with carbohydrates, the study is showing that in the presence of a low carbohydrate diet, when I talk about proteins spiking insulin, that changes. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. How low carb diets, intermittent fasting affects how protein is utilized by your body. It's pretty crazy. We'll talk about all that tomorrow. But right now, what I want you to understand is that instead of these GLP-1 drugs that are doing some things that are great, but doing a lot of things that are negative, why not take a look at a more natural approach that's giving you health throughout your body? Now, here's the thing, guys. I know not everybody, sorry for my language, not everybody gives a shit about any of that, but a lot of people do. So if you're one of the people who wants, hey, I don't feel good, I don't look good, I want some of this weight off, and I want to build my health back, and I want to understand how I got here, stick with me. We're going to explain all of this stuff day by day, and we're going to talk about the system that helped me get there. If you just want the easy way out and you don't really care, don't want to hear me, then go to one of the Ozempic pages and talk to them. And then let me know how you fare 10 years down the road. Okay, because I've talked to so many people who've had either gastric bypass, gastric sleeve, or these drugs, and those are two are different things, who've come back and reported to me devastating effects of using those drugs. I have not had anyone come back and tell me devastating effects of using the system, nor have we had any reports of it. So the tea is amazing. Mental health, um, energy utilization in the body, healthy, strong bones and muscles, healthy gut. So it's doing so much for your body. It's one super food that we all could really use. And it's why the Argentinian soccer team flies in thousands of pounds of this tea to their competitions because it's giving them everything they need, helping them perform better, helping them stay lean and on point with their mental health. Also, this is not just about sports performance, but like if you're going into meetings and or a test, if you're a student and you just want to know that your mental clarity is on point, drink some tea about an hour or so before you go into that test, into that meeting, and you're going to find that you're more on point and you have more mental clarity than you could have ever imagined. And you might just start performing better in those ways too. Okay, so that was all about the tea this morning, a little bit about it. Again, you guys, I've done some breakdowns of videos and I'm working through these 13 different scientific benefits of Unimate or yerba mate, and those will go in that tea tab. If you're not on TikTok, I apologize. I don't have it set up on YouTube that way yet, and hopefully at some point I'll get that done. But all right, you guys, I will talk to you in the morning. We're going to talk about protein and how the utilization of protein changes and how it affects your insulin, especially in the face of intermittent fasting and a low carb diet, and how this all affects your insulin resistance and it helps you start to get your health back. So remember, I'm going to give you 6 simple tips. You know what I haven't gone over? Does anybody want me to do? I haven't done, maybe I'll just do a short video on it. Some of the symptoms that you can tell if you have insulin resistance before you ever even have blood work. I would love to go over that at some point too. All right, you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. And I promise I will be closer to 8:30 tomorrow morning than I was today. And let's talk about protein tomorrow and insulin resistance and all things around that. Um, I will bring this up again tomorrow, but I was just on the phone with a lovely friend last night. She was like, yeah, because I have this new technology. That was what part of this red light therapy. It's getting um, healthier blood cells or blood vessels is why I wear that watch. But I have this scanner technology. I have some appointments with people today to do a scan for them. The scanner technology that I'm using now, I'm adding to my toolbox, and I have it available to those who are interested. But it is amazing to me the information I'm gaining from the scan as I use it daily. So I do it morning, noon, and night to just kind of see where my body systems are at that point and what I need to do nutritionally to help my body. Now, let's talk about something really uh, personal because I'm on social media all the time, right? Some of you have been very kind and you haven't said anything about the fact that you notice my face has changed a little bit over the last couple of years. About 2.5 years ago, my gallbladder was removed, and that posed a whole bunch more of medical issues for me that I've been struggling with. One thing, and I haven't talked about gallbladder for a while, one thing I want everybody to know before I get off today is if you're a woman, especially, and you've had your gallbladder removed and you're having weight loss issues, it's all about that gallbladder being removed. And now we have to learn to deal with it more naturally. If you want help with that, let me know. I'll share with you what I've done. Now, interesting with the scanner is I knew there were pieces that I was missing, that the doctors were missing, that were contributing to why I'm still having some issues. The good thing with the scanner is that it's able to show me insulin resistance scores as well. And those are all under control. Great stuff, right? So the system is working. I'm doing the right things. My insulin resistance is under control. But what it's doing is pointing out some other things. So I had insulin resistance for probably 40 years, probably still working on getting rid of the totality of that. but my gut health has changed. Protein has changed. The system, because I was able to put in all of my things that I do, like I have this protein and I haven't utilized it a lot. I use it's from the same company, but I've been talking about upping my protein and getting in 1 gram of protein. This is more of a conversation for tomorrow. But the interesting thing is, it showed me, even though I focus on proteins and fats when I eat and try to limit my carbs, I've been still struggling with keeping my weight off because of the gallbladder removal. So some of the things that it shows me are when I need bile, when I need extra ox bile, when I need more digestive enzymes, when I need more probiotics, prebiotics in my system. And what I've noticed is I've compiling all of this information is it's rarely ever anything to do with the brain or my heart or any of that. It really comes down to protein and my gut. Now, as I've been making these changes and utilizing the scanner to understand what my body needs daily, I'm starting to lose weight again. Crazy, crazy. I'm hopeful that, one day I'll be back to a size that I was in my early 20s, but we're working on it. So the scanner is crazy good. It shows you, I mean, it actually shows like some of the vascular difficulties my heart has had. If you're interested in that scan, two things. Anybody who's purchasing the tea or the system from me, I'll give you a scan for free. We'll go over it. We'll look at it. And that is just a gift from me to you to help you understand what's going on with your health. Because although insulin resistance is a big piece of it, I understand that it's not the only piece. And so there are many, many people out there who are very unhealthy like I was, and they just need more answers and they're not getting them from their doctors. This isn't meant to diagnose. It's just to help you see where there are imbalances in your system. If you're interested, let me know. If you're doing the system, let me know you want the scan and we'll set up an appointment and do one. Because that's what I'm doing today is scanning so people can understand what's going on in their health. And we can talk about that technology later. If you guys want me to talk about it on a live one day this week, I would be happy to talk about that because it's crazy good. Some of my friends have already started doing it and they're recognizing that they're seeing a change for them and their families. I've used the scanner for my grandson who has a genetic disorder, and it's helping me dial in on what we can do to help preserve that little boy's life. So the scanner and the system are creating such health for me that it's crazy. At 60 years old, I feel better than I did at 45, and that's saying something. So you guys, we'll see you in the morning. We're going to talk about protein. We're going to talk about insulin resistance. We're going to talk about how protein changes in the face of a low carb diet. And I'm going to save the news for tomorrow. I'll try and just zip it, but we'll see you guys in the morning. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll talk tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.